Hello, everyone. Thanks to ALANYA HEP University for inviting me to this conference. And it is a great opportunity for me to share my research. I conducted this research in a small heritage site of Rajshahi division of Bangladesh, which is called Puthia. And the title of my research is Evaluating Heritage Site from the Perspective of Visitor Satisfaction, Insight from Puthia, Bangladesh. So let's see a few things about the background of this research. Well, we chose the Puthia Rajbari area because of its unique and exceptional and distinctive architectural design and its irreplaceable character. Especially, there are lots of places in Bangladesh which has heritage characteristics, but Puthia is special because the site is very natural still. It has the character of a small village, and the site is not much spoiled yet. Um, and most importantly, in this site, you can see the cluster of many heritages, which gives the distinctive character of this site. I mean, if you can take a walk into the roads of this small site, you can feel the character of the heritage district, which is very distinctive and unique. So that's why we chose this site. And another important factor was this site is not explored well, although it is an enlisted heritage site of Bangladesh Archaeology Department, but this site is not well exposed to the people. And although there are lots of people come to visit this site, and they are mostly the local people, but this site has the potential to be developed to be internationally recognized. So by evaluating the potentials of the site, we chose this site, and we wanted to investigate further how this site can be developed and further improved. So in terms of our aim of this study, we mostly wanted to explore the heritage resources of the site, as the present literatures do not express much about the heritage resources of Puthia. That's why we wanted to explore the heritage resources of the site. Secondly, as this site is visited by a number of people every year, although they are local people, we wanted to calculate, or we wanted to develop methodology so that we can calculate the satisfaction level of the users about various facilities of the site, and overall we can measure the satisfaction level of the tourists. And thirdly, we wanted to explore a few means for making this place a better tourist area by integrating the local community and tourist recognition. So before going into the details of the study, we investigated the existing literatures, what it talks about the Puthia site and what it talks about the measurement of the tourist satisfaction level. So here we saw that there are a few very limited study has been conducted on the Puthia site, especially we found only one significant study that was conducted by a student of the architecture department of BUET, who conducted on his bachelor thesis on this site, and he proposed the master plan for the conservation of this site. And his study was only limited to the main palace and the immediate surroundings. But as I mentioned earlier, this site is quite big and it is kind of a small village. So he only focused on one significant building and the conservation of the surroundings. So that's why we wanted to explore further about the heritage resources of this site. And about the methodology, we found one study that actually calculated the tourist satisfaction of heritage site of Dhaka city, which was based on the Likert scale, and it also proposed the ways of calculating visitor satisfaction. So our study got some sort of methodological inspiration from this study. And here you can see the picture of the site. I mean, it's a site map, and you can see that it is located on the northwest portion of the Bangladesh. And these are few real pictures of the site, and you can guess that how natural the site is, and this site is not much spoiled. That's why it has much more potential to be conserved and preserved well, and it has a potential to be developed as a tourist friendly site. And this is some part of my methodology, and this just shows the complex variables and the simple variables that I used to complete my questionnaire design, which relates to the objectives of the study. This is a sample of my questionnaire. We conducted two types of questionnaire survey. One was for the tourists, and the tourists were asked to rank their perception and the expectation regarding various indicators which are presented here. And based on their perception and the expectation level, we calculated our customer satisfaction index at the end. And this one is the question for the staffs, locals, and the experts. And our sample size was 230 overall. We conducted our regression analysis which actually identified the important indicators that directly correlate with the satisfaction level of the tourists, and later we performed the important performance analysis, and finally we developed the customer satisfaction index. And this is the methods of the calculating customer satisfaction index. We will see the details of it later. And these are the simple explanation of the values that we have used in our method. And now let's talk about the results and discussion. So our first objective was to explore the heritages of the site. So for this part, we actually conducted an observation survey, and we talked to the staffs and the locals of the area to know the history of the site, and to identify the locations of the various temples and the palace and everything, every heritage resources. And we have prepared a GIS map of the site. And on the GIS map, by using the tools of the GIS, we prepared this map where you can see the exact locations of various heritage resources of the site. We have the details of the history of each of these heritages that are given in the final journal, final paper that I submitted. And these are few proper picture of the heritages. As you can see, I haven't given all the pictures, just significant ones. And in this site, one Puthia palace, which is very important. There are few residents of the employees of that time, and most of the buildings are temples. Well, before calculating the customer satisfaction index, we actually investigated the type of the visit and the characteristics of the visitors, and we have found that most of the visitors are 15 to 30 years of age, and they visit this place during Eid, Puja, and any type of fair which is organized here in these occasions. And their frequency of visit is once in a lifetime is almost 75%, once in a month is 15%, and once in a year is 25%. And they come with their friends or family. They mostly do not come alone in this place, and most of the student persons are almost 33.5% tourists are students, and they come for the recreational purpose as well as educational and knowing history and other purpose like business. Well, these are the findings from our questionnaire survey, and based on these indicators, they have ranked each of these indicators out of 5, and we have averaged the values collected from 230 samples, and finally we have found this. For example, is the HEP site is felt safe and secure, and the mean value is 3.27 out of 5. The natural scenario of the site is attractive. It comes with 4.14 out of 5, which presents that the site and the beauty of the site is very, very beautiful. The second one is the findings from the regression analysis. Here, the dependent variable is satisfaction element, and the independent variables are all these indicators that I mentioned in my questionnaire. And here you can see the indicator information, accessibility, and natural attraction has the highest Pearson correlation value. That means these independent variables actually explains a lot the independent variable, which is the satisfaction. And finally, we have, based on the NAN model of regression analysis, we have developed this equation. And here you can see the satisfaction level is actually explained by these 9 indicators out of many indicators. So these 9 indicators are the most important indicators that explains the satisfaction level, which are natural attraction, information, environment clarity, easy accessibility, security system, food facility, sanitation, and parking. Well, now we conducted the important performance analysis, and based on that, we developed a Cartesian diagram. And here you can see this diagram is divided in 4 quadrants, and the various quadrants shows the relationship of the level of performance and level of expectation. For example, on this quadrant, you can see it's the high performance and high expectation. Here, the security system, accessibility, natural attraction, these has high expectation, and they're also performing well. People are quite satisfied with the performance. But here, in case of layout, map, the sanitation, information, waste dumping, people have high expectation about them, but their performance is quite low. That means the authority, or we have to work on these aspects to improve the site. And now finally, this is the findings of the calculation of the customer satisfaction index. And there you can see, based on the questionnaire survey, we calculated the performance value, mean performance value of various indicators, and the expectation value of various indicators. Finally, we also averaged all these values of all these indicators, and we also have averaged the expectation values of all these indicators. And these are called, the performance is called the MSS, and expectation is called the MIS. And finally, we have calculated the weighted factor, and using the weighted factor, we have used the weighted score. And finally, to calculate the CSI, we have used the weighted score and highest score, which is 5 in the Likert model. And based on this algorithm, we have finally found our CSI value, which is 0.52. And if you compare it with the I'll have to go back to the previous slide. Our CSI value is 0.52, which means that people are moderately satisfied. This is the explanation of the CSI value that we have used. Well, now let's go back to the chart here. So people are moderately satisfied with the performance of the various indicators. And now we have proposed some recommendations here. And this is a real map of the site. And we have, based on the important performance analysis and the regression analysis and everything, we have proposed various facilities here, and we have marked it on the real locations. You can see the pointers here. You can see the arrow marks here. We have, for example, information kiosk is proposed in 2 points. Dustbin is proposed in many points. No, actually, information kiosk is proposed in 6 points. Civic facilities proposed in many points, many locations. Food facilities are also proposed in many locations. So this is the real location suggesting map. And I have, for example, the 1, 2, 3, 4. numbers are presented as the heritage resources, and the arrows shows the real locations of these facilities. And these are a few samples of our recommendations. Like we have proposed that the sitting arrangement should respect the nature and the character of the site. These are also the proposals which we have suggested. And finally, if we want to conclude our research, we have found that maximum tourists feel the necessity of a layout map and an information kiosk. They don't feel it's important to have a tour guide as it is small space. They can find out their way easily. The natural scenario is very charming. The site is really accessible from any corner of the country, which is a good point. And many of them want to visit, or they want to provoke their friend to visit the site. And the negative points are the unhygienic and lack of sanitation system, and the site lacks proper information, which will guide the tourist. So these are the findings of my study, and I hope you have liked my study. If you have any further question, you can ask me. Thank you so much.